In the book I devoted to leaders, Hey Cupcake, We Are All Leaders, I talk about the myth of using buy-in as a strategy. It's a terrible strategy. It's a desired outcome, but a very ineffective strategy. Buy-in is no better a strategy than hope. I go into some organizations that have very impressive goals, and I say, well, how are you going to reach these? And they say, we hope we do better. And I'm thinking to myself, you'll be calling me, because hope is not a good strategy. Neither is buy-in. I think in the past, we thought if everyone bought into the new idea, that changing behavior would be simple, that if everyone was on board, then the behaviors would just automatically change. I think this may be for two reasons. One, I think some of us were told that. I think our leaders told us, you've got to get your teams bought in. I used to get that question all the time. Leaders would come up to me and they'd say, Liz, I don't think I can get my staff bought in. And I would say, don't worry about getting them bought in. Worry about changing their behaviors. That's the work that has to happen first. The other part is, I think as leaders, because let's face it, out of all the things we do, changing other people's behaviors is not something that comes naturally to us or is all that comfortable. I think we kind of thought, well, if people already were bought in to the new change, I, as a leader, wouldn't have to do the very difficult work of changing behaviors. And I'm sorry to say that's not the way it is. It's just not true. It'd be nice if we could wave a wand and everyone was bought in and miraculously their behaviors changed, but it doesn't happen that way. And so what I see when organizations try to implement using buy-in, at best they get 60% compliance. And at 60% compliance, here's what you get. A very busy leadership team, but only lukewarm results. So your leaders are working like crazy, but you're not seeing outcomes. Because at a 60% compliance, it's not enough to make those huge changes. And here's what happens. 60% compliance, you know your low performers are not. They never change. But we also know they only really represent about 10% of our team, even at the worst. That means that out of your strong, solid, middle, high, whatever you want to call the rest of the folks, there's still another 30% of them that are kind of hanging back and kind of waiting and seeing. Are we really going to do this? Now, I've been in organizations that have implemented something to 60% compliance. I come in and they say, Liz, we've been doing this for 3 or 4 months. We don't see any results. We want to move on to the next initiative. And I always say, you cannot. You cannot move on to the next initiative until you get 90% compliance. Because at 90% compliance, not only do you see great results, your leaders become less busy, but now your low performers start to stick out like a sore thumb. The active work of changing behaviors is getting it to that 90% compliance. And when we look at how that change occurs, it's not by getting people bought in. It's about enforcing a behavior change. In change, understanding or that buy-in does not happen first. It happens after we see robust results. And we don't see robust results until about 90% compliance. So when I talk about how change occurs in organizations, I like to use an acronym. The acronym spells out the word BARF, because that's how most of us feel about changing behaviors anyway. So instead of everyone bought in at the beginning or all on board, it starts with a belief that there is a better way to do something. That's the B, belief. The A stands for action. We take action and we enforce a behavior change. Whether people are on board or not, we enforce a behavior change. From the behavior change, we start to see results. And once we get those results, we gain faith. Now you might be saying, faith? I thought it was buy-in. Well, then that would spell out Barb, and there'd be someone named Barb who wasn't happy with me using her name, and plus BARF is just more fun. So the F can stand for faith, understanding, or buy-in, but it comes last. So let me give you an example. When I was at Holy Cross, one of the first behavior changes we had to implement was saying hi in the hallways. Now, we couldn't wait for everyone to get bought in, because before we had our new leadership team, Sister Teresa Mary was our CEO. Sister Teresa Mary didn't allow talking in the hallways. So we couldn't wait to get all 1,800 team members bought in. We had to enforce a behavior change. So the belief was, if we said hi in the hallways, the organization would appear to be more friendly. From that belief, we took action. We had hello police. I got a call from one of them one day. They said, Karen's not saying hi in the hallways. I was like, oh, for Pete's sake. I called Karen in my office. I'm like, will you please start saying hi in the hallways? She said, I am busy saving lives. I'm like, not in the hallways, you're not. From those actions that enforced behavior change, we started to see results. On our surveys, we saw the question, overall friendliness of the organization go up. When we did focus groups, we had our people tell us something feels different about the hospital. We're not exactly sure what it is, but it feels a little bit more friendly. And from those results, our solid, strong, high performers gained buy-in. They then were able to see that this is a behavior that gets results and is a worthwhile thing to do. Changing behaviors is about getting to that 90% compliance so that your team understands that what they're doing gets results. Your strong performers, your high performers, they're driven. Your low performers are never, ever going to buy in. So if you're talking about something like, say, a whiteboard, and you look at it for 30, 90 days, let's say, and you drive it to 90% compliance. Because if you just do the first week and you go around and you make rounds and you say, oh, Sally, she's a low performer, I was in your room today, your whiteboard wasn't filled out, she's going to say, well, that's because we were so busy. But if you can go to Sally after 3 months, when the rest of when your unit is at 90% compliance, and you know, Sally, I've been looking at whiteboards for the last 90 days, you are never in compliance. If she goes, well, I'm not the only one, it's really busy, none of us can do it, say, actually, you know what? On this unit, we have 90% compliance with these whiteboards. You are the outlier. We're never going to be able to transform and change our team's behaviors until, as leaders, we transform the way that we implement change. Great leaders require development. If you want to learn more about this, check out my book, Hey Cupcake, We Are All Leaders, at firestarterpublishing.com.